Hello, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Sarah, and today we're going to speak about truth. So, in today's truth, we're going to continue on our last video on how to not defeat the system, but bypass the system. I would say more like bypass the system. Because going against the system is not the best way. Because you're creating, destruction, you're creating fight. The best way to eliminate something is to simply eliminate it. It's not to fight with it. Simply make it disappear. So, in a world where we have watchers and world architects and gatekeepers, right? How do you go about being yourself and being a very successful human being within a trapped world? Let's call it a little mini prison. So, this is how you go about doing this. I'm going to give you two examples of artists. Because first, everyone knows artists from around the world. And second, they're the first type of category that's targeted, right? They're targeted by the Illuminatis from the beginning because they're influential. So let's take the story of Mini Vanelli. So Mini Vanelli was two really good-looking men that was in a band. And this was when the boy bands started. We had Backstreet Boys, we had New Kids on the Block, and then we had Mini Vanilli. And Mini Vanilli was two black people, or mulatto, and they were incredible performers. They were dancing incredibly. They had hit song after hit song after hit song. They blew up. Mini Vanilli was the biggest band at some point, either in the 80s or 90s. I think it was in the 80s. And 80s and 90s, it was huge in creativity. There was a huge boom. I think it was like the heydays of humankind. It was a huge boom in creativity. Had garage bands that would pop up out of nowhere. People really became what they became because of their passion. It was a huge trend and everyone jumped on the bandwagon. One of my brothers had a garage band and he was playing guitar. So everyone had hopes and dreams of becoming a rock star. Right? But then the creativity got out of hand, right? They started singing about the real world. Michael Jackson started singing about what's really happening. And then they lost control. So what did they do? They started manufacturing artists, right? They're like, well, we can't control them. So let's just copy their creativity. Let's add auto-tune, right? You don't even have to sing anymore. And boom, you're an artist. You are a puppet of the industry. So that's where it led, right? So they're watching us become really creative. Then they take over. Like I said, they have to let the human come with the creativity first because the parasites don't have creativity. Don't forget, they can't create, right? That's why they have to copy. So they let you be whoever Bob Marley, right? Then boom, they get rid of him. And Eminem, then boom, they get rid of them, right? I think Eminem, MJK replaced him, which is not a better copy. No offense, MJK, Machine Gun Kelly. But you see, that's what they're doing. Now they're manufacturing artists. But you can't manufacture talent, right? So that's why it looks fake anyways. But anyways, let's just go back to Mini Vanilli. So I was a huge fan. I loved Mini Vanilli. My brothers, not so much. My brothers were not into the hair band. They were more into the heavy metal. But I was more into the hair band and guys that look like girls. The flamboyant 80s, I love the Poison, Motley Crue. Some people, they just like Metallica, Megadeth. They don't come down to Poison, Motley Crue. To them, those are not real artists. But to me, everyone was a real artist. Even Candlebox. I remember I used to listen to Candlebox a lot and they were like an underground. But anyways, I'm going off topic. So Mini Vanilli, mainstream, huge, they blow up, right? They even get a Grammy. And then out of nowhere, we hear in the news that Mini Vanilli is lip singing. I remember I was in Canada and I was shocked. And when the news hit the world, I remember the whole frequency of the planet went down a bit. Because we were all in shock. Like back in the days, you had to have the skills to be what you are, right? We didn't have fakeness. There was no fakeness back in the days. Even like Marilyn Monroe, apparently she had plastic surgery. It doesn't show. Even if they were fake, it didn't show. Mostly fake in Hollywood was their private life. Like we had James Dean, he was bisexual. Montgomery Cliff, he was bisexual. Like a lot of people, Marlon Brando, he was bisexual. Like a lot of people hid their personal life. But they had to have the acting skills to be an actor. They couldn't fake that part, right? So back in the day, like I said, everything was legit. Everyone was in their place because they had earned it. Then Minnie Vanilli, lip sync, world goes into shock. Into shock. It was really bad. I remember the interviews after it. They were like really targeting them, like the press conference. It was really bad. They were like, listen, we're from the projects, we didn't know, we didn't know. It was really bad. You can see it was very aggressive for them to try to explain why they did what they did. One of them died. One of them got so depressed. Listen, when the whole world kind of hates you or, feels betrayed because of what you did, it's really bad. Okay, so Minnie Vanilli, I loved them. And I don't think they did something that horrible because it's moment to moment, right? Like imagine two black guys from the projects and then there's a white British guy, the producer. It was the producer's idea. This whole thing was the producer's idea. He wanted to find, pop stars, but he was saying how like the artists that he was finding, they were not good looking to his, opinion, apparently. So he got Minnie Vanilli and he's like, don't worry, you guys can sing, just dance and we'll record, someone else's voice. So imagine two guys from the projects. They're like, sure, we have nothing to lose, right? So it's moments by moment. The intentions wasn't like, let me go out there and screw everybody up. That was not Minnie Vanilli's intention. If that was Minnie Vanilli's intention, they wouldn't have died of overdose and depression. It wouldn't have gone spiraling down like that. So you can see that was not their intention. Like I said, two black guys from the projects. Hey, you want to start a band? Oh, you can't sing? Don't worry about it. I'll get someone better. We'll just, perform. Keep performing. You're a dancer. Keep dancing. Right? Then they blow up. Oh, great. Let's put another song. Let's put another song. Then they blow up again. Oh, let's give you a Grammy. But you see, by the Grammy time, things got serious now. Right? Now you're getting an award for the fakeness in your skills. Right? You're not a singer. So the importance here is the moment by moment, okay? The moment by moment decision led to Minnie Vanilli into an overdose, right? Because 20 years before, 10 years before, they took a wrong decision, a wrong turn, right? And again, it's not obvious. Nobody knew it was going to end up like that. And then after Ashley Simpson does her thing on Saturday Night Live, I remember when that happened, nobody cared because it was normalized by then. Like I said, the frequency had gone down, everyone felt cheated. So if Ashley Simpson is lip singing, woohoo, everyone knows she's on auto-tune. So it wasn't a big deal by then. So this is why it's important when you're trailblazing, when you're doing something that's never been done before, you have to make sure that it's done properly. Because if you're trailblazing towards spiraling down, if you're starting a new path with lying, with cheating, you're normalizing it. You're pretty much telling the world, hey, look, it's been done before, so you can do it as well. So the point is not to normalize negativity, right? Negative behavior. The point is to normalize truth. But truth doesn't pay off that fast, right? If Minnie Vanilli was told in the beginning, hey, you don't have the voice, you're not going to make it, they would have probably just quit, right? They would have gone on to doing something else. They would have still been alive, still been happy. They would have just, had to work for their money. They wouldn't have gotten that shortcut, the Grammy, and, then to recall the Grammy. That's a huge humiliation, man. To have a Grammy and then to have to recall it in public. I remember I felt so sad for them during the interviews because I saw how they got targeted. During those press conferences, the producer had to be there. The producer had to be there because the producer can handle all that shame. It was his idea. He could have been like, you know what? It was my idea. Leave these guys alone. But he didn't. He put those two guys in front of the TV and he bailed like a coward. He showed up at the funeral. I saw that. You see the producer go like this at the funeral and then he bounces. At least he showed up for the funeral because it was his fault, right? It was his idea. But I remember Minnie Vanilli, huge. Girl, you know it's true. Ooh, 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 I love you. That's why my brothers didn't like them, but I did. I was in love with them. I also had pictures of Jonathan Brandis all over my room. I remember it was mainly John Bon Jovi and Jonathan Brandis. And we all know how Jonathan Brandis was also a sacrifice. So, anyways, let's not get into that. It's really sad to see, like in Canada, you're watching Hollywood. I worked at Blockbuster because I couldn't believe you can get paid to watch movies. I was like, wow, you can get paid to watch movies? Sure, forget the theater. Theater is like 5, 6 movies at a time. Blockbuster, you had like 200 movies. So I remember having a great time, working at Blockbuster and watching these amazing creativity. But it's so sad to know what's behind it, what's behind these actors, what's behind the whole industry. So that's why we got to clean it up. Okay, so that was Mini Vanilli, right? Very sad story, but again, one of the biggest bands that ever existed. Mainstream, everybody loved them. Incredible, right? Now you have the story of Tracy Chapman. Tracy Chapman was always in truth. Tracy Chapman produced her own music. She wrote her own songs. She performed her own songs. Everything was live. Like it was always her authentically. Tracy Chapman made a song called Fast Cars. And I remember I used to listen to that song. Every time I hear that song, that gives me chills. Even today, chills all over my back. That song was like an anthem for pretty much anybody that was middle class, low class, not rich, right? Because everyone from a small town dreams to make it big. And not big, I mean, successful, like celebrity big, just big, You don't want to be stuck in a small town. You want to go and live to your fullest potential. So that song, every time I had a job, Dunkin' Donut, Blockbuster, whatever, I was like, okay, I'm going to make it. And I remember my friend Kathy had a huge party in the woods, like a French family, not the bohemian type, like the real fun type. And I remember I went with her family. It was a huge Christmas party. Like the whole family was there. It was a huge gathering. We were getting drunk. We were underage, but it's okay. We were getting drunk. We were amongst family. And I remember her uncles were there. And I felt like I fitted in. I felt like I can be something, right? I can have a big family. I can be like this as well, So I'm telling you that Fast Cars from Tracy Chapman, that song is an anthem to everybody. Anyone who sings that song, hears that song, I can almost guarantee you they have shivers on their back. So, Tracy Chapman, what happened to her? She disappeared. I don't know. I heard a couple of songs after Fast Cars and that was it. Boom, gone. So I thought she took a break. I didn't know. You don't know why people disappear. I thought maybe, she got kids and she didn't want to sing anymore. I had no idea what happened. And then recently I saw what happened. I saw a documentary on her life. And this is so beautiful, so beautiful. So Tracy Chapman, after she did the Fast Car song and blew up, that song was everywhere on the radio all the time. The people of the industry said, okay, now we want you to do the social media game, get into social media and play with everybody. And we want you to collaborate. Also, have people copy your songs. It's a huge hit. Let them copy your songs. And Tracy was like, no. I don't want to play social media. Listen, social media, it's a game. You gotta want to play the game. In the beginning, I had to force myself. I didn't want to play the game, but you have to if you don't want to disappear. So she didn't want to play the game. You can tell she's a very serious person. She didn't want to play the game. Okay. You don't want to collaborate? She didn't want to collaborate. Okay. You don't want us to mix your songs, take samples? No. Okay, so they wiped her out. They're like, we can't, you're not a puppet. We can't do anything with you. So they completely blacklisted her. 10, 15 years gone, right? Then Nicki Minaj took her song and made a sample out of it. And then Tracy got pissed, right? So she sues Nicki Minaj. She wins a settlement for $450,000. She's happy, $450,000 is good enough. And then everything gets laid to rest. Then 2024, this country guy covers her song, again, without her permission, right? But he covers her song and he hits #1. And then he pays her $500,000, right? If she settled for $450, she's gonna take $500. So he gives her $500,000. They both win like Song of the Year, right? Because the song blew up, and she won an award for the best songwriter, right? So for 10, 15 years, she disappeared because that's what they made her do. She didn't want to disappear. She could have had 15 years of hits. She could have slapped on a bikini, had hits after hits after hits for 10, 15 years. She could have sold her soul. She could have. But she didn't. She took her honor, her integrity, pulled the plug, and disappeared. Right? And then 15 years later, the laws of the universe, right? Because the song's out there. The talent is out there. The laws of the universe, because she never sold her soul, had to pay her back. Right? It's 10, 15, 20 years, maybe it's 30 years, like Nelson Mandela, right? He was 20, 30 years in prison. We don't know how long it takes for the karma to return. But at the end of the day, it has to return. Energy has to return. So she stood her ground, right? Disappeared 10, 15 years. And after that, she got her prize. The prize that they should have given her back in the 80s, back in the 90s, when she originally wrote the song and when the song blew up. But they didn't. They wanted to play the game. They're like, no, we're the gatekeepers. You're not going to make it. So 10, 15 years, she went and she lived a very normal life. Now, it depends of the person, right? Imagine she makes this decision and then for 10, 15 years, she's like, did I make the right decision? Did I make the right, That's not a good life, right? But if you're comfortable of your decision, you're like, you know what? I'm not selling my soul. That's it. You can go and have a 10, 15 normal life, 10 years, 15 years normal life. You're not a star. You're not a celebrity. But you have a very fulfilling life, a life filled with integrity, filled with honor, right? A balanced life. And at the end, you end up getting your prize anyways, right? You just didn't get what you didn't sell your soul for. Like if she would have slapped a bikini on and pranced around, she would have gotten more hits, more success, but she would have lost her dignity. She would have lost her integrity. Still to this day, when I hear that song, it blows me away. So if Tracy would have changed and people would have sampled her songs and she would have eventually disappeared as the original, nobody would have remembered her. Nobody would have remembered her integrity, right? Her confidence, how she changed the industry by forcing them to do what was right, right? So this is beautiful as an example, right? One sold their soul, the other one didn't, right? And again, moment by moment. Vanelli could have never imagined what was waiting at the end of that lie. No one can imagine, right? Just like Tracy Chapman never imagined to get an award for that song at the end of the day, right? And I don't blame her because look at it this way, that I'll Be Missing You from The Police, Sting. Every time I hear that song, I think of P. Diddy. Why? Because he made a cover and he blew up. So that's what the industry does. When there's like an amazing song, we have a mainstream that samples it and blows up, and then everyone remembers the mainstream version. Nobody remembers the original. So Tracy Chapman didn't want that to happen. She wanted, till this day, when we hear her song, to have chills in the back. And it's true, because when I hear the Nicki Minaj version, I don't have chills in the back, So it deteriorates the song when they cover it, when they take samples. So anyways, Tracy Chapman, she's my hero. I look up to people like that. Right? Because at the end of the day, we have free will. Even if, let's say, your backyard is small, some people's backyards are really large, it's the whole world, and some people's backyards are small. It doesn't matter the size of the backyard. How are you living? Are you living in integrity? Are you living in honor? Right? Like back in the days, we had gladiators, but they didn't care of dying because they died in honor. Hey, at least I died versus a lion, It's a great way of going out versus the Illuminati sacrificing you. What a coward way of going out. It's self-made, self-inflicted, right? So again, I can't emphasize how much honor, truth, and integrity is important. When you give those things up, you get shortcuts, no problem, but you pay for it at the end. You end up paying for it at the end because you sold your soul for it, right? So if you always stand your ground, you will always be on the right path. No matter how difficult the path is, you'll always be on the right path. But if you don't stand your ground and you get influenced by everybody, your path is now wobbly, right? Now it's influenced, it's wobbly. Now your path is someone else's wish, not yours anymore. So at the end of the day, we have free will. Okay, let me make this very simple for people to understand. It's zeros and ones, right? It's a simulation. This world is a simulation. It's all made of zeros and ones. So it's truth or lies. But let's not say lies because lies is very direct. Let's say truth or manipulation, right? Because omitting something is technically lying, right? But it's manipulation. I can't say it's lying. So truth and manipulation, right? Truth is one, you go up. Manipulation is zero. You go down or you stay at the same negative frequency, right? So every time you tell the truth, binary one, every time you tell a manipulation, you're at zero. You're going down. So tell yourself, if I lie in this moment, but I get $100 for lying, how will I feel after, right? Never look at the shortcut. Look at how you're going to end up at the end of all the lies. So again, moment by moment. If Minnie Vanilli would have never accepted, oh, you can't sing, no problem. We'll just put another voice. Very simple. Hey, listen, it's harmless. I'm pretty sure I would have been like, all right, let's do it. Right? There's nothing in you saying, don't do this, right? You don't know what's going to happen, right? Your intuition can't be like, don't go this route, because you have no idea what the producer is thinking in his head. You have no idea that the producer is going to make you number one, right? You don't even think you're going to be famous. You're like, oh, let's give it a shot. Worst case, it doesn't work. Very harmless. Very harmless. Manipulation a little bit. As you can see, everyone's doing it today. Everyone's fake. They're even fake in their professional life, which is sick to me. It's one thing being, private about your personal life, but you're faking at your work. That makes no sense. Now that's a new kind of fake. And now with all the plastic surgery, listen, man, people are so fake. It's like, might as well just be plastic, man. It's gone too far. It's gone too far. So this is why we got to bring back the truth. And again, moment by moment, once you start lying, you got to keep lying all the way to the Grammy, right? Imagine doing that speech. You get a Grammy, now you have a speech to make, and you've lied this entire time. To me, that's torture. That's public humiliation. It's torture. But like I said, they couldn't get out of it, right? You started a lie, you continued the lie, you got a bunch of hits on lies, you picked an award, a Grammy on lies, you're finished. You either keep lying or you end up dead. And that's what happened. So this is what people don't see. They don't see what's waiting at the end of that lie, because they're waiting. People are waiting for the truth. The world is waiting for the truth. The energy is waiting for the truth so it can finally balance out. So maybe the energy or the truth comes after you're dead. It doesn't matter. It's still going to balance out. So this is why the laws of the universe. You don't cheat the laws, because by cheating the universe, you're cheating yourself, right? So that's the best way. Right? So let's make it very simple. Everyone has free will. And for sad reasons, everyone goes down with their free will, right? So take your free will and make it very simple. In every situation, every decision, yes, no. 1, 0, right? And no's can also be a 1, right? Saying no to a situation that's bad for you, that's a +1, right? So you simply always tell the truth. You don't lie. You don't manipulate. You don't trick. You don't, no tricking here. You're tricking yourself at the end, okay? So again, 0s and 1s, free will, truth or lies. Your choice how you want to go forward. Your choice what type of life you want to live. One filled with honor and integrity, where you cannot be moved by nothing. Maybe you're not a multimillionaire, but that's okay. You have your honor, your dignity, your integrity. Priceless. Or you give those up and you make a few millions and then you lose it and then you're stuck on the street. So anyways, it's not that bad. Some people have lied and have incredible lives, but trust me, at the end of the day, they don't feel good in the inside. It's all about how you feel, right? It's all about the energy. You want to operate at your highest voltage, right? You can operate at 50 watt if you want, but if your lamp can support up to 100 watt, why not go 100? Okay? So I hope this video helped clear out. I know everyone knows Minnie Vanelli and everyone knows Tracy Chapman. So those two, I love them no matter what happened. I love the Minnie Vanelli. I still love them today. Blame it on the rain. Yeah. I can't sing for my life. So anyways, keep up the great job, artists, because we see the world through your eyes. And that's how we get to determine exactly what's really going on. So thank you, and on to the next one. Ciao.